I was someone who was very vulnerable. I needed guidance, and basically I needed someone that was a North Star in my life, because I didn't have that in my life growing up. I had a father and a stepfather that was not there for me as a father figure, and that left a huge void in my life. And I was always seeking this father figure in my life. My entire life I was always searching for this mentorship, because my mom, she filled in as the nurturer, the one who provided, the one who nurtured me, but I was looking for someone who can bring knowledge and guidance in my life. And I think growing up I was so lost. And I found myself in very bad relationships, trying to fill in that void, like trying to find someone that can love me. And I didn't realize I needed to love myself first, because once you love yourself fully, you don't really need anyone to validate your love. It's just you. There's this author that I love. His name is Joseph Campbell, and he always had this quote that really resonated with me. He always said, follow your bliss. And I think my entire life, I just followed my bliss. And sometimes my bliss didn't make sense. You know, for example, my mom wanted me to go to school, to med school, to become a doctor. That makes a lot of sense if you want stability in your life, if you want to have a sense of financial stability, which we never had, and a sense of education, and to have a government job, something that's very, very, very stable, because we didn't have that growing up. We lived paycheck to paycheck. We didn't know the next month if we might get evicted, so it was very unstable. But my bliss was art. My bliss was creativity, expression, and I just knew that if I followed the path of becoming a doctor or just working in the medical industry, my whole life would be planned out ahead of me, and there wouldn't be any sense of spontaneity, which I need in my life. I love to just wake up and be like, wherever the wind takes me, I'm just gonna go. Like, that's just who I am. And so following my bliss, I decided, as right when I was filling out my college applications, I decided I wanted to go to art school. And then just last minute, I'm like, you know, Mom, I'm gonna fill out this application for art school. I'm gonna follow my bliss. And sure enough, the first day I went to art school, they gave out MacBook Pros to every freshman student. That was the first year they ever did that. And that MacBook Pro was my window to YouTube. So had I never had that laptop, I would have never have had my career. So it's kind of strange how this invisible hand guided me, and it was that bliss. I think in the early beginning, I did. When I started out on YouTube, or even before YouTube, I was blogging. A lot of people discovered me when I had a Zynga account, and I was just blogging about my life, and people connected with me on that. And then I moved over to YouTube, and I started to create these beauty tutorials because people wanted to know how I did my everyday makeup routine. And it was this like big sister role that I filled in for a lot of people. And I spoke to them, I connected with them as a real person, not as an editor or a model or a famous person. I was a real person in my room filming in my bathroom. And so there was this sisterly familiarity connection that I think that what wasn't available back then, because YouTube was still in its early infancy. But as the industry grew, as I signed more contracts, I was obligated to do a lot of videos, and that was when I changed. I changed because you could see that I wasn't happy doing these videos, but I had to do it because I had to honor my obligations. And so my viewers felt very disconnected from me. And so at a certain point, I didn't feel like I was helping them. I was just adding noise to the space. And I could tell they weren't happy, I wasn't happy. It was a very toxic environment for both of us. At a certain point, I realized I can't do this anymore. I can't, because I'm a people pleaser. I always said yes to everyone because I felt that if I was given an opportunity, it might be my last, so I should take every opportunity. And we're kind of taught that, like every opportunity you should take. But I've learned, through experience and wisdom, that not every opportunity is meant for you, and sometimes it's okay to say no. And that gave me the chance to remove myself from that toxic environment to just refresh myself.
Yes.
And I think that's so important. Like, everyone should do that. Every few years, just refresh yourself, reflect. You need time to reflect. You need time to think, because you think you're going on a path and you think you're so committed to it, you should stay on it. But oftentimes, like, that's not always the wisest choice. Sticking to a path that is not meant for you anymore. If it no longer serves you, if certain friends in your life or family members or relationships no longer serve you, it's okay to say goodbye and end it and move on, because sometimes relationships and opportunities are also like seasons. They come into your life for a certain reason, and then you grow, But then if they no longer serve you, it's time to go. So I had to, it was hard leaving everything, leaving YouTube. I mean, no one would have done what I did. Like, who would leave a channel that's very successful? Who would leave a company that's making millions of dollars? Who would do that? And in a sense, that was my madness part. It was my self-destruction part, because sometimes, like a star, it collapses, but then there's something new that's born. And I'm happier with who I am now than who I was before. I just want to follow my bliss. I want to follow what makes me truly happy. Is that it? Oh, thank you.
If there's anything else you want to add, I mean, you answered
just follow your bliss, guys.
Yeah, follow your bliss.
Even if it doesn't make any sense. Sometimes miracles don't make sense.
Follow
just
your
think
bliss,
about that.
follow your yen.
Follow your yen.
Yeah.